Hello again. My name is Fleetus Poston, and I'd like to take a few minutes today to talk about the power of POAM, Plan of Action and Milestones. A POAM serves as a dedicated roadmap that outlines the steps your organization will take to remediate vulnerabilities and improve its overall security posture. This structured approach transforms reactive security measures into proactive risk management. So by implementing a comprehensive POAM, your organization can systematically identify, prioritize, and address security weaknesses before they become exploitable by threat actors. So now let's dive into the identification and prioritization of vulnerabilities. POAMs begin with a thorough assessment of your organization's technology ecosystem to help you identify the vulnerabilities. This critical step allows security teams to prioritize issues based on potential impact and exploitation likelihood, while ensuring remediation efforts address the most significant risk first and maximize the effectiveness of cybersecurity resources. This starts with asset inventory. Make sure you conduct a comprehensive inventory of all your assets, hardware, software, data, systems, networks, and any other critical system in your environment before you perform your vulnerability scanning. When performing these, make sure they are rigorous scans using tools like Nmap, Nexus, OpenVAS, or other similar commercial or open source tools to identify potential weaknesses. Make sure you're running penetration tests in your environment. Conduct these pen tests to simulate real-world attacks and identify vulnerabilities that may not be caught by automatic scanning, which will lead you into a comprehensive compliance and risk assessment. You'll need to review your compliance and risk assessments to make sure that you are identifying vulnerabilities related to any regulatory requirements you have within inside of your environment, such as SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, to name a few. Many organizations should consider a bug bounty program if you do software development. By participating in a bug bounty program, you are encouraging responsible disclosures of your vulnerabilities. Next is your risk evaluations. You can use such things as CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, to assign numerical scores to each vulnerability based on its severity and exploitability. Next, you can rely on CIST, Cybersecurity Framework, or NCF. By applying the NIST security framework, you're evaluating the likelihood and potential impact of the vulnerabilities. Another important framework is the MITRE ATT&CK. Utilize MITRE to identify vulnerabilities related to a specific tactic, technique, or procedure, also known as TTPs, and be able to build a business impact analysis. Perform them to determine the potential business impact of each major vulnerability. Next, strategic prioritization. Prioritize based on a risk score. Prioritize vulnerabilities based on the CVSS score, EPSS, or other high score indicators to help get a better understanding of the severity before you decide to patch it. Additionally, based on the likelihood and impact. When prioritizing your vulnerabilities, base them on the likelihood of the occurrence and the potential impact to your business if it was to occur. Consider other dependencies and interdependencies in your environment, such as the interdependencies between key systems, assets, and data when you prioritize your vulnerabilities. Thus, make sure that you're not just looking at CVSS scores, but you understand the criticality of the vulnerabilities within inside of your environment. It's easy to just patch critical, which are CVS above 9, or highs, which is between 6 and 8.9. But there may be medium and low risk in your environment that are under the 6 that would cause significant downtime to your environment. So make sure you take these steps to prioritize them based on the business impact analysis. So now let's talk about clear and measurable goals. So the first is you need to set specific objectives. POAMs are there to establish clear and measurable goals for remediation efforts by providing a structured roadmap for your cybersecurity teams. These specific objectives help your security personnel stay focused on priorities and track progress methodically over time. By setting concrete milestones with defined success criteria, organizations can effectively measure their impact for cybersecurity initiatives and make data-driven decisions before resource allocation and strategy adjustments are necessary. Next, Make sure you understand how to track your progress. These measurable goals should have defined timelines with key checkpoints, deliverables, to make sure that you have regular assessments so that you know if you're falling off track, which may need to lead to additional resources, reprioritization, and or a risk acceptance. Next, this timeline integration. Understand what is realistic for your environment. What other projects are going on? What buy-in do you have? Make sure you're creating accountability and ensuring that the momentum is maintained throughout the entire process. This may be difficult if you don't have buy-in from your CTO, your CIO, or your CISO. So make sure you get leadership involved early on when you're setting up your key specific objectives so that you can provide progress tracking that is effective and a timeline that can be met with inside of your organization. So we finished off talking about this. So let's dive more into resource allocation and management, which leads into personnel requirements. Your POAM must outline the resources needed to remediate vulnerabilities, including personnel, tools, and the budget to do this. These detailed resource mapping is critical for your organization to allocate assets effectively while ensuring that remediation efforts receive adequate support. Additionally, organizations need to manage resources by providing a timeline for these activities, showing security leaders the plan to staff, coordinate with other departments, and allocate funding effectively across multiple competing priorities. Technology is tough, so make sure you have the tools and or software and services in place to address, identify, and effectively remediate the vulnerabilities. And lastly, budget, budget, budget. Don't get caught without a comprehensive budget projections. What may seem to be a 1 day engagement may turn into three. What may seem to be a 3 week engagement could turn into months. So make sure that you help your security leaders as well as the business understand the necessary funding and resources to get the security investment from your executive leadership team. So again, outline the personnel requirements. What technology do you need? Is this from a spreadsheet? Are you buying a software? Are you integrating these into an IT service management platform to track your tickets? And budget planning. Adequately staff. Make sure you have a vulnerability analyst that your IT team can patch accordingly. And your executive leadership team is giving you adequate time, resources to implement a successful vulnerability management program. Now let's jump into accountability and responsibility. You need to set up clear role assignments. POAMs assign clear accountability and responsibility for each remediation effort within inside of your organization. By explicitly defining who owns each task, organizations ensure that remediation activities are carried out effectively and that nothing falls through the cracks due to ambiguous ownership. Additionally, make sure that you have executive oversight. The accountability framework helps security leaders track progress systematically and address any bottlenecks or challenges that may arise during the remediation process, keeping security improvements on schedule. Performance measurement. Make sure that you understand the objectives that you're laying out for, as we talked in the previous slide. Reinforce with your leadership team, both at the C level and the board, the importance of vulnerability remediation across the entire organization, starting with your end users, understanding their responsibility in protecting the assets that they use day in and day out, while your IT team is managing these systems and your security has oversight. And lastly, make sure that you have documentation. Make sure that you have tickets in place, pull requests in place, and other documentation to show that you are effectively remediating the changes inside of your corporate environment, any of your controlled environments, and any of your SaaS environments, your software as a service, so that you can show the decisions that were made, the actions that were implemented, and the results that came from these. Transparency is key and helps establish a historical context for future security planning. Many of us are dealing with POAMs because of the compliance and regulatory requirements. POAMs are essential for demonstrating compliance and regulatory requirements, as well as all the other industry standards that we must meet. Many regulations, such as the NIST framework, GDPR, PCI DSS, SOX, as well as HIPAA, are in place so that organizations have a formal, documented process for addressing their vulnerabilities. A well-maintained POAM serves as evidence during audits and assessments, thus helping your organization demonstrate their due diligence in their security practices and potentially avoiding costly penalties and reputational damages from the compliance failures. We've talked about a few of these, so let's talk about them a little deeper. Many organizations use the NIST security framework. This helps with protecting, detecting, and responding. GDPR. Any organization who has a presence in the EU is required to make sure that they understand the accountability for how they handle the citizens' data. Financial requirements. For any publicly traded company, you've dealt with SOX or PCI DSS if you're processing credit card payments. Make sure that you understand the evidence that you are required to meet these requirements. And then, if you're storing any healthcare data about your employees, HIPAA is important. Take time to understand the nuances between these different compliance frameworks and regulations. And now let's dive into continuous improvement. POAMs facilitate continuous improvement with inside your organization's security posture through an iterative approach to security management. Let's start by assessing vulnerabilities, setting goals, and tracking progress. Your organization can create a feedback loop that drives ongoing enhancement. This cyclical process ensures that security teams adapt to new threats, incorporate emerging best practices, and learn from previous remediation efforts. The results is an increasing resilient security posture that evolves alongside the threat landscape rather than remaining static and a vulnerability. POAMs are a continuous process. It's not a one-time effort, but rather an ongoing process that requires continuous improvement. So with assessments, make sure that you're regularly running vulnerability assessments. Make sure that you regularly review and update your risk assessments to ensure that they remain accurate and relevant while staying informed for any changes to the regulatory requirements that we discussed in previous slides, thus updating your POM as needed. Next is planning. Review and revise your POAMs. This can be done to make sure that they align with the organization's goals and priorities and any new legislation that has come into place. Update your templates to reflect changes and best practices, tools, and techniques. Provide ongoing training and awareness programs for professionals involved in your POAM process. Next, implementation. Execute your plans in a timely manner with clear communication and coordination among your stakeholders. Implement new technologies and tools to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of your POAM process. Continuous monitoring is a process to improve and make adjustments as needed. Make sure that you are evaluating your POM regularly and that you are ensuring that they are executed in a timely and within inside a budget. Evaluate the effectiveness to achieve their intended goals. If you're not meeting it, revisit. Also, identify lessons learned from your previous efforts and apply them to future initiatives. And then make sure that you get adoption. Adopt your POAM plans to make sure that they respond to the changing circumstances, such as organizational priorities, new leadership, new emerging threats, and that you're incorporating new information and insights to ensure that they are effective and relevant. So finally, POAMs are an evolution. They continuously evolve, so yours must as well, to stay ahead of emerging threats while maintaining a strong security posture within inside of your organization. So you're probably getting a little bit of the recurrent theme now that POAMs are critical to your organization. So we must build an effective POM strategy. And it starts with executive sponsorship. By identifying vulnerabilities and setting clear goals, allocating resources effectively, and assigning accountability, your organization can significantly enhance their security and reduce the risk of damaging cybersecurity attacks. Additionally, you have to integrate the approaches. A well-implemented POAM helps organizations demonstrate compliance with regulatory requirements while facilitating continuous improvement in their security practices, which we just discussed on the previous slide. You've got to have realistic time frames. Every organization should prioritize the development and implementation of a comprehensive POAM as a cornerstone of their cybersecurity strategy by making sure that they're achievable, that they account for all the operational constraints, and that you maintain credibility in your remediation process. And finally, that we conduct regular reviews. This is not a set and forget. Make sure that you take time quarterly, semi-annually, annually to update the approaches based on lessons learned, as well as any new strategies, legislation, or evolving security challenges your organization faces. As we conclude this presentation, I'd like to end with a reminder. A POAM is a critical tool for organizations looking to strengthen their security posture. Take time today to make sure that your IT teams, your project management office, your leadership, both senior leadership and board, understand how your organization is structured to handle risk and vulnerabilities. At the end of the day, cybersecurity is all about risk management. Take time to document, to test, and track your vulnerabilities. Put them on your risk register. Document them. Hold quarterly risk advisory board meetings. Make sure that you get the proper resources and budget to maintain a strong security posture. At the end of the day, we all have risk in our environment. We all have a duty to protect our organization. So take time today to document and to test your remediation strategies. Thank you again for taking time. I appreciate you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And just a friendly reminder, I'm Fleetus Poston. I post daily shorts around a gamut of different cybersecurity topics, Monday through Friday. I put out sessions similar to this each and every Monday. And I try to go live with a cyber banter once a week. So please find me on one of those. And until then, stay safe and stay secure.